Welcome to Part 3, Module 3, Principles of CLIL, the 4 C's. We have already discussed content and cognition. In this presentation, we are going to learn about the third C in CLIL, communication. As you may know, communication is central to both content and language learning. What do you think communication entails? Let's find out. Communication involves creating opportunities for learners to interact with their peers using the language learned. At the same time, learners continue strengthening their language learning process as a result of their use of it. In traditional lessons, it is the teacher who does most of the talking. With CLIL, on the other hand, teachers' talking time is much less. This allows students to have more opportunities to use and learn the new language. CLIL favors students working together and studying in groups. They talk to each other and to the teacher using as much of the new language as they can. As a CLIL teacher, you can ask yourself some questions regarding communication. What sort of communication will the students be involved in? What language will be useful for that communication? What key content words will they need? What scaffolding can I provide? Communication in CLIL has been defined through the language triptych proposed by Coyle, Hood, and Marsh in 2010. It consists of three types of language: language of learning, language for learning, and language through learning. We will now learn what each of them means. Remember to take notes. The first component of the language triptych is language of learning. This is language that is needed to access concepts and skills of a field of knowledge. This language demands of the different disciplines comprehend much more than vocabulary. As you can see on the slide, it is content obligatory. It involves the key vocabulary, grammatical structures, and functions learners need to study specific curricular subjects. The second component is language for learning. That means functional language. Language that enables learners to be functional in a foreign language environment. This includes, of course, classroom language, as well as language for academic processes and speech acts. The last component of the language triptych is language through learning. This involves language progression, practice, and extension. It is the language that is not planned and that emerges as part of the lesson in a natural way. This is the language that is generated in the process of learning. As a new meaning is learned, new language is required and acquired. In sum, communication, the third C in CLIL, involves the language triptych: language of learning, language for learning, and language through learning. Communication involves using language to learn while learning to use the language. Language teachers can help content teachers in identifying the language of, for, and through learning, and provide linguistic tools for them to be able to incorporate the language triptych in their lessons and in the classroom. When thinking about communication in CLIL, we also need to consider the distinction between BICS and CALP. BICS stand for Basic Interpersonal and Communication Skills, and CALP is Cognitive Academic Language Proficiency. These two concepts were put forward by Cummings in the 1980s. The first one, BICS, has to do with language that is used in everyday conversation. CALP, on the other hand, refers to language used in academic contexts. Differentiating these two types of language can help teachers to determine what language competences should be addressed in their lessons. We need to consider that language is used differently in academic contexts than in everyday conversations, and students may need more help to learn academic language. It is your turn now. What language of, for, and through learning would you relate to the topic of habitats? Complete the table. Take some time to read through the table. Notice the difference between the language of, for, and through learning when teaching the topic of habitats.